What's up, everybody? This is the McAllister's podcast. I'm your host, as always, Coleman McAllister. Another super solo episode today, off the dome on a Monday. Today, I was initially thinking of just doing, a game live stream, just kind of chilling on the game, just taking a break from the regular rigmarole of the podcast. It's a lot of work doing this, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to change it up. However, I could not resist in doing an episode today. Kind of in response to a semi-recent, I feel like I'm always behind on kind of the quote-unquote what's relevant or whatnot, right? With these guest episodes kind of offsets it. But regardless, I wanted to talk about the recent Tucker Carlson appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience. And although I will admit I could not finish the episode because, I don't know, Tucker Carlson, I'll just say this about Tucker Carlson off the bat. He's an interesting, I will say this off the bat, he's an interesting guy. He's interesting. That doesn't mean I agree with him. That doesn't mean I necessarily like him, but he is interesting in a lot of regards. What happened with him at Fox was interesting. And he really, he really has been kind of the talking head frontman for kind of the modern age of the Republican Party, right? The conservative movement, which I've never fully considered myself part of, maybe for a brief period of time. And a big part of why I've never been able to fully subscribe to that side of the aisle, is for this reason that we're talking about today, religion. And Tucker Carlson, I usually like to think he's about 40-60 for me. I agree with about 40% of what he says. He gets the big bullet points right about, the negative effects of government. I think he does, although especially at Fox, I think he kind of overdid it and kind of, cherry picked and whatever, right? I do think he kind of cites a lot of the dangerous trends that are kind of on the more leftist movement. Despite some of like the hot, like I said, like the overhype of it. I think, some of his citing of like, the trans stuff with kids, I think like that, and like the drag show stuff, I think, him shining a light on that topic is good. Regardless of how he went about it. So, there are things about Tucker I like. He has always been against libertarianism. He's very like pro-military. So these are obviously things that I'm not a fan of him for. And one of the things that, and this is with like all these conservative guys, Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, even Rogan, a lot of the, libertarian guys I subscribe to are all religious, or not subscribe online too. And it's always this thing that's just been kind of a thorn in my side, a thorn in these people's side, when they have a lot of these social movement issues down, but then this thing comes to light, religion. And their opinion about it is always ass. It's every time. Is the one thing. That's disgusting. It's the one thing that always drives me insane about these people. And on this podcast specifically, Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson got into evolution. And Tucker, every podcast I think he does, he has to mention that he's a Protestant Christian, which good for you, dude. I don't fucking know. I don't know why. They make the joke about, atheists, like how can you tell if someone's an atheist? Because they tell you they're an atheist, like that is kind of a true stereotype in a sense, but like there's this branch of Christians that have always just like, it just annoys the shit out of me when they have to remind everybody that they're religious. They have to throw it into the conversation. It's one thing if we're having a conversation about religion, right? And I'm like, hey, I'm not religious. But like to just out of the blue just say like, yeah, I'm an atheist. Just like, like I don't think very many, at least like I should say like at least like majority of like sophisticated, mature veteran atheists are not going to like throw that around, right? Partially because they know they're part of the minority. And I think that's kind of why religious people kind of have this in their head where they can kind of, just throw that out. Not that you can't throw it out there, but that's like, it's not going to throw anybody the wrong way if you just like throw it out there, right? Anyways, whatever. However, he went on this, one of the most unintelligible, I mean, this makes the Eminem thing look like nothing. His minute spiel on why evolution is bullshit. Not even why evolution is bullshit, but how we don't have evidence for it. We have no evidence for it. Anyways, let's just play the clip.
If evolution is real, and if there is this constant, I don't know, but it's visible. Like you can measure it in certain animals.
You can measure adaptation.
Yeah.
But there's no evidence that in fact, I think we've kind of given up on the idea of evolution. The theory of evolution as articulated by Darwin is like kind of not true. Right?
In what sense?
Well, in the most basic sense, the idea that, all life emerged from a single cell organism and over time, and there would be a fossil record of that, and there's not. And
there's not a fossil record of transitionary species, like species that are adapting to its environment.
There's tons of record of adaptation, and you see it in your own life. I mean, I have a lot of dogs. I see adaptation in dogs, through the litter to litter.
That's evolution.
But no, there's no evidence at all zero, that people evolve seamlessly from a single cell amoeba. No, there's not. There's no chain in the fossil record of that at all. Seamless. And that's why you don't actually hear people, you hear them make reference to evolution because the theory of adaptation is obviously true. But Darwin's theory's totally, that's why it's still a theory almost 200 years later, No, we have not found that at all. And I can't even guess. I mean, I have my own theories on it, but they're not proven.
What are your theories?
God created people, distinctly, and animals. I mean, I think what every person on Earth thought until the mid-19th century, actually.
Right,
Okay, there's a lot. There's a lot to unpack there. Holy shit. Where do you even start? Okay, so the first thing that he said that really, let's go back because I'm an idiot. What was it that he said?
I don't know, but it's visible. Like you can
evolution. The theory of evolution as articulated by Darwin is like kind of not true. Right?
In what?
Okay, so what is it? Oh yeah, he said that the theory. He's implying that the theory of Darwin. He's implying that the theory of Darwin, just like is not seen as like a legitimate thing. Like that the science community. Or not, I guess he's not even saying the science community, but let's just say the science community. Let's just say people. That people have thrown out this idea of evolution. Like this seems to be what he's implying. That like evolution, right? Evolution. Fucking moronic. Here's the main thing that he is doing here to justify his religious insanity. He's conflating adaptation and evolution. He's completely conflating the two ideas. He's painting what is evolution to be this quote unquote other thing called adaptation. He's acting like adaptation has nothing to do with evolution. He's acting like it's its own thing. He's acting like that these are two separate ideas. And disclaimer. I am not a scientist. I really enjoy biology. I did not get a degree in science. I was not very good in school. You can take with that as you will. I'm a jackass. However, there's an entire community of people behind me that will back up the idea that adaptation is a part. It's a part of evolution. It's not a separate idea. It's not a separate idea from that. Like he even the thing that's crazy is he's even able to point out in real time real evidence. That mean the closest thing to evidence, it's evidence that we can see through time, through photographs, not even through photographs, just through living. That there's a clear pattern of there's a clear scientific pattern of not adaptation, of evolution, which is the bigger scope of it. It's just so dumb. It's like saying, you have a flower, right? And then there's a leaf on the flower, and you're like, but that leaf's not a flower. We have evidence for the leaf, but the flower is just a theory. Okay, and here's the other point that maybe I'm jumping ahead kind of in how I wanted to go about this, but here's the fundamental problem when it comes to religion versus science. Trying to explain to a religious person the idea of a theory, the idea that the universe and all its information is ever expanding, ever growing, that we as humans, with a finite amount of time, cannot yes, it's probably impossible for us to know. No, there's probably not going to be a time in history where we're able to write out a math equation that explains. It's like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? Where it's like, what's the answer to everything? And the numbers, it's the number 42. And they're like, what does the number 42 mean? It's like, well, you kind of have to, what's the question? You have to really go back to the question, right? Anyways, the point is, if you look at any of this from a scientific viewpoint and you understand that the only way to figure out if something's, provable or has some form of reality, you have to go through the scientific process, which is long, extensive, requires intelligence, requires being non-biased, all these components to do it correctly, and it has to be repeatable. And with things like AI, maybe this will be something that's possible, but from a purely human standpoint, no, there's probably not a possibility or a probability that we're going to have a math equation that's going to solve the world's problems. That being said, something that I think religion really minimizes, and I think is sad, is looking at the scientific, growth that we've had that is truly beautiful. That is more beautiful than any God or any religion in my mind. The fact that we were able to split the atom and, that we discovered how DNA works and that we're able to codify that and break that all apart. Our understanding of the galaxy and the universe, the fact that we're able to shoot a telescope hundreds of thousands of miles, away from us and take these, take pictures that are of instances that are happening years and years and years in the past because of light and all these amazing things that we have discovered. And then what happens? Some religious jackass comes into the conversation and says, but I have all the answers in this book. My point with all this is there's a basic problem when you talk to a religious person who already has the answer. When you talk to someone who from the age of birth, I don't know what Tucker Carlson's religious past is. How he talks, I'm guessing from the instant of birth, he was raised Christian. And when you develop as a religious person, as a Christian, you develop not with a humbling sense of, science is ever growing and expanding and we're always constantly learning from it. Instead of that, having, I know everything. I know how the world works. I think that's very dangerous. I think it's really sad that Tucker Carlson is coming out and just saying complete nonsense. Saying that there's no evidence. We have fossils. I think, and Rogan even points this out. And, I'm sorry, shame on Joe Rogan for not pressing harder on this. Like, what the fuck, dude? You have Jamie right there. Jamie could have pulled up. Like, they could have done a 10-minute dive on why Tucker Carlson is just a complete fucking loon when he says that there's no evidence for evolution. And he just laughs it off as like malarkey. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Look, if this was like an assertion, if this was just some religious assertion, that's one thing. But to just completely say something that's just empirically false. I mean, look, you can say that you think evolution is bullshit. You can say that you think you believe in whatever, however the world was made. But to say that there's no evidence for evolution, that is ridiculous. And to conflate evolution with adaptation is ridiculous. This was just a huge L for Tucker Carlson. I will give him credit. I think he did have some really good things to say about the nuke situation. Really just saying like, hey, it's not really okay to ever drop nukes on people. I think that's true. It's really sad though. A lot of libertarian people that I listen to and I watch, they all praise Tucker Carlson for saying, I guess, I didn't watch everything of all of it, but they praised him for saying, how bad it is to nuke things. But then Tucker later goes on to say that we should nuke data centers. It's like, okay, so what? So you're just going to completely gloss over the fact that this man suggested that we just drop nukes on private businesses. Like, okay, that's like a government, like literally, like that's like the biggest breach of fucking like, the government imposing its will on the people. Like, okay, we're going to come down and destroy your business with a nuclear bomb. Like the fact that he suggested that, we're just going to gloss over that. But we're going to praise him for the nuke thing, right? Yeah, I don't know. There is something that has always made me kind of hesitant about Tucker Carlson is he just seems to be, like he's in it for the guff. He's not even for the guff. He's in it to be ecstatic and to be big. He's a talking piece. He's like, he's left Fox, but in a sense, like he's kind of just doing the same thing that he did at Fox, but with his own initiative or whatever, which I don't think is bad. Like, I think independent media is important. Like that at face value is good, but I don't really appreciate his content. Okay. Another thing that I kind of find interesting about, and so I mean, this episode I kind of just wanted to just lay out. I just wanted to kind of talk about this subject, talk about religion in general, aside from like the Tucker Carlson interview, because I've talked about in podcasts before, like in discussions with people, etc., different events going on, etc. But I think it's something that I think is important, and I just kind of wanted to just do a whole episode on it. One of the things that I find really hypocritical about the religious movement and these religious talking heads, and I just pointed this out. I guess I should say, in connection to this last point, the idea of AI. If religious people truly believe that we're creating God's image and that we're essentially just pumped out, right? I mean, it's almost kind of like a factory in a way. just boom, baby, 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 baby. And then every baby is created. I mean, not in their argument, it's like created with care, with love, etc., whatever. I mean, however you articulate that, he's just creating babies left and right, right? And so in a sense, in the religious perspective, our consciousness is a reflection of our soul and reflection of what is God, essentially, right? So here's the thing: AI is a representation of that in a sense. Or not even a representation. It's a create. I mean, really, it's a tool. It's a creation, but it's meant to reflect us, right? It's meant to like be something can emulate human qualities, right? And can streamline and ease processes for people that are using AI. If consciousness is directly related to religion, if it's a creation of God, then what are you so worried about? What, like if humans are really inferior to God, if we truly are, His creation, He's the Almighty. I mean, and this kind of just goes into the whole debate of like any kind of violence in general, right? Like, why does God allow war and famine, etc.? And it's kind of just, it's always like, it's a part of His plan, right? But anyways, if we really are able, as you are so afraid, if we really are able to create AI, true AI, if we are able to create a true super intelligent being with a true consciousness, with true will of their own, then there's, how is there a God, right? Like if we're able to do it, doesn't that just minimize your God? Maybe, and maybe this is why religious people are so against AI, because this is my point. These are two conflicting ideas. Like how can, I just don't understand. If you step back, it doesn't make sense to be this scared of man-made. If God is the only one who can create a being, who can create a human or an animal or whatever, and if we're not capable of doing that, then you shouldn't be afraid. There's nothing you should be afraid of. So I just think it's a very interesting. That's the thing I was thinking about. So these religious people, they get so bent out of shape about AI, and it's like, if what you believe is true, then we shouldn't even get there. We shouldn't even be able to get there. I mean, if we are, that means that we're creating. I mean, that means that we're God, right? Which I will say, I don't think that's true. I don't think we're ever going to create something like that. I think because consciousness is so complex, because we don't understand consciousness, there's no way we can create that. So then that goes back. Why are you so scared? If you really think we're capable of this, you can't think that we're capable of creating something that is equivalent to what God has created, and think that that God is the all being, and that whatever. I can't even connect these two ideas in my head because it's maybe that was kicking in. I don't know. But look, I just think this is a ridiculous correlation, a ridiculous hypocrisy. It's blindsided, and it's in line with religion, right? To just blindly think something without evidence. Pastor Mike told me it's so okay. My parents told me this is how the Bible says it is, so that's how it is. No critical thought. I mean, so yeah, if you throw something like AI at a person like that, then obviously they're not going to be able to critically think about that. Sorry. Again, or another point with the religious stuff. Here's the thing that people love to kind of prod atheists on. It's like this. I should have pulled this up. There was a debate recently with Alex O'Connor and Ben Shapiro about 4 months ago. Maybe I talked about this in the last episode. I don't remember. But they were having a debate about religion. And Ben Shapiro made the point that a lot of religious people make, which is that religion is a good template for morality. That despite whatever blah, 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 whatever negative is affiliated with religion, core values at the end of the day, love one another, all that, etc. God loves you, all that. That's beneficial. And he does make the point, which is true, that religion did have a place in our time, in our history. It is correlated to the growth of civilization. But look, I mean, there's almost, in that time, there was almost something kind of scientific about it in a way. I mean, it wasn't in a sense, but at that time, if we have so little, I mean, they were doing the same thing that scientists do. They saw evidence and then they drew a conclusion. And I mean, initially, right, at these initial stages in religion, that's what they're doing. I mean, in this day and age, I mean, it's so far removed from that. I mean, with science and with our knowledge, I mean, if you're still on that train today, you're lost. You're ignorant. You're not open-minded. You're not willing to take in information. You're so steadfast, strong in your belief that that's how you're going to go. But anyways, so the point that a lot of these religious people make is that, okay, religion teaches you not to kill, not to steal, whatever, not rape, all that. And society wouldn't function without that. And then, there are a lot of atheists who will make the counter argument, and they will say that, government is what, is the template for morality. I don't think either of these things are true. I think morality is evolved. I think it's just something that makes sense, to be good to people. If you want to survive, you want to cause the least amount of violence possible, right? You don't want to intervene. You want to just, be peaceful. There's a point in society where we were beyond the jungle, right? And we're in a society where there isn't really immediate danger upon us. And then, we evolve, not adapt, evolve into the society that we're in, where, there are dangers, but we have better tools to defend ourselves. Like there's a wide variety of reasons why it just makes, like, logically, despite whatever moral code, it just makes sense to not be bad, shitty to people, right? Now, how you define that, I mean, that's an interesting discussion in itself, right? I mean, take abortion, right? I mean, you're going to find two different sides of the aisle who envision what, like, okay, like if like on the base value of, like, okay, like murder isn't okay. Like me breaking into my, like, if I were to right now go break into my neighbor's house and shoot and kill him, like, for no reason, even really with a reason, but that's wrong. Anyone would attribute that as being wrong because, this baseline thing, murder is wrong, killing is wrong. But then if you go into something like abortion, you find a wide variety of arguments, like, at what stage does this really constitute a life? Is it really, the same as, like, me going into my neighbor's house and killing him? I think there's room for debate. The religious people, will look at that all the same. They will look at, the inception to whatever stage as being the same level of killing, which I think is ridiculous. Because we're people and we're humans and we're scientific and we observe things on a basis, right? And there are plenty of situations that people can observe where it's justified to murder someone or to kill someone, especially in self-defense, right? Like if somebody reverse situation, somebody broke into my house right now with a gun, and I had the means to be able to stop him and end his life, like that's okay because he was coming at me with intent. It's clear that he's going to kill me. And at that point, I mean, there isn't really any more, like, there's nothing immoral about me protecting myself. I don't believe that. So anyway, just this fallacy with the idea that we need religion in society to function, I think is just ridiculous. And I think actually in a lot of ways, religion is holding us back. I mean, look at like let's take abortion. Sure. There's a wave there. This is something I object to a lot. There is a wave, I think, of people who are very, how do I put this? Very nonchalant about abortion, to say the least. In a lot of cases, even celebrating it and praising it. That is definitely a thing, right? I don't really think that has a lot to do with the lack of religion, though. I think that's like, I don't think culture is I don't think religion is the only thing that impacts culture. There's a lot that impacts culture. Is religion part of it? Yes. Is it, right to equate everything to that? No, I don't believe that. That's another big part of the argument that really falls on its face too. It's like they conflate everything religion, because this is how these people think. If they have all the answers and it's religion, then religion is the problem to everything, or not the problem. Religion is the man with the strings, the puppeteering thing, right? It's just wild. It's just wild that people still carry these, like look like women, kind of in relation to abortion, women's rights, something that the church systematically, for years, for centuries, was not in favor of women, who actually like considered women like cattle a lot of times, right? Like just treating them more like a vessel to create a child than a real person. Also, condoning like underage marriage. I don't care what time period it is. I don't think it's okay to fuck a 12-year-old. I don't think it's okay to impregnate a 12-year-old, make them have a child. I think that's abhorrent. And I don't care what the time was. So it's just hilarious to me that these people carry this. And I know this episode is going to piss people off, because people, every time I talk shit about religion, my comments fucking flood. People get so mad. It's such an emotional thing. Maybe this is why I don't get it, because I'm a logical person. I've always been a very logical, facts-based person. And I think there are just not very many people like that. And that's not even me trying to be arrogant. That's just me being factual and me describing my experience in life. I overwhelmingly meet people who are emotional versus logical, who are going to stick with their feelings, how they feel, over what logically makes sense every time. I think there's so many examples where you will have this, conversations with religious people, and at the very end, they'll just say, well, I can see with your point that there's no evidence because it's belief. And I think there's something dangerous. And this is why I think religion is dangerous. A lot of people will say, hey, I see what you're saying, Coleman, on why this is wrong, but is it really dangerous? And I do believe that religion is dangerous. All right, guys, that's it for today's episode. I think that's about all I can do on the subject of religion. Stay tuned. Next week, we are going to be back. Actually, I think next week we're going to just do a live stream with some gaming stuff, so that'll be fun. And I know we've been kind of lagging on episodes just in general. Life happens. 2024 is crazy, but we're trying to put out content as much as we can. So we'll have some stuff coming out next week. And until then, have a good night, everybody, and keep it real. Peace.